The FICOM chair. No, proxy. FICOM chair.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What is her name? At all. Hi.
Right.
You want to ask him for his name just so we can refer to him as a human?
What's your name? I think Ryan.
Ryan?
Yeah.
What's Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why can't we hear
Can I
you?
rip this or because it's not coming on? Wait, that's a rubber band, isn't it? No. No? Let's go on this one. Oh. Proxy is Ryan. Was I not supposed to do it?
No, it's okay. I think you're okay.
Okay.
Just don't get it.
Yeah, Ryan.
It's just
and,
Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay. Is everyone from that? Do we have quorum? Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you do. Great. Well, in that case, we're going to call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. We're going to begin with the vocal roll call of attendance. Please just say here or present if you are here or present. President here, IVP
Here.
EVP, Gen Rep 1 here, Gen Rep 2, Gen Rep 3, AAC, CEC,
Here.
CSC, CAC,
Here.
Facilities,
Here.
FSC,
Here.
SWC,
Here.
TSR. Okay. Great. We are now going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? I have one. Yes. Could I add an office report? Awesome.
Oh, this is
awesome.
Any other amendments? Yes, Christina. Yeah. Yes, there you go.
Can I add instead of the discussion, can it be an action item?
Yes, we'll need 2/3 vote in order to do that. And there any other amendments to the agenda?
So I just wanna throw it out there, you can all either choose to amend the agenda tonight or save it for next week's meeting. So with your SCOF money, there's a conflict with what your bylaws currently state because it was never updated. So the only way for Debbie and SGA to transfer the SCOF money into your respective office budgets is to either make a clear vote to suspend the bylaws and say that the money from SCOF is getting split evenly between the X number of offices that don't currently have dedicated funds. Or you can put it on the agenda for the next meeting as a bylaw change, and we can formally change it so that in the future it won't be an issue. I guess up until this point, it's just been common practice that everybody's just suspended that one particular bylaw. But I mean, it would be good to update it eventually anyways, because as it reads now, it says split amongst 13 council members, which there's 14 of you, so it's pretty dated. So I just want to throw that out there. You can either put it on the agenda. Oh, the only thing that is going to be impacted is the money won't go into your office budgets until this happens. So that money wouldn't go in until after the 12th, when you formally change the bylaw, and it says in there who's getting the money split from SCOF. So I don't know if anything like that impacts anybody's office.
Thank you. For any of the offices that are receiving their office budgets from the SCOF allocation, do you need that money before September 12th? Because if not, I think it would be in our best interest to, if we can hold off, just so we can do it in the proper means of putting it on the agenda, allowing students the opportunity to see it on the agenda and comment if they felt necessary. So any of the offices who need this funding or who are getting their funding from this allocation need to be done before September 12th? Nope. No? Great, thank you, Jessica. So we will put that on the agenda. Maybe can you just take a note of that now to add that as an agenda item?
For sure.
Great.
And then also, really quick one, pay attention. This is James, he's your new alumni representative. Alumni, yeah.
Okay.
So he's another one of the administrative reps, like Dr. Geller, Rob, Roy, and myself.
Perfect. So hopefully we can learn a little bit more about you during the administrative representative officer member reports. We'd love to.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Great. Perfect. So right now we're in the mode of approval of the agenda. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? So, so we'll leave EVP just in case Chloe's able to get back. In that case, we'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Thank you, Netta. Do you mind verbalizing it just?
Oh, sorry, I propose, I haven't done this in a while. I move to propose to vote to amend the agenda as stated.
Oh, awesome. Second.
I wasn't actually paying attention.
Okay, Zara, sorry, I saw her name first. We'll have to do a verbal roll call again.
Oh, shoot. Send it now.
So we're just gonna go through those who are present. IVP,
Present.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3,
Yes.
AAC,
Here.
so yes, CBC,
Can you verify this because
CAC,
like we see
Facilities,
Yeah.
FSC,
Yeah.
and SWC. Great. Seeing as all council members have voted affirmatively, the agenda is now approved as amended. We're now going to move on to the approval of the minutes from August 17th, 2017. Were there any changes that need to be made to those minutes? If so, were they made? Great. Seeing none, we will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Aaron?
I move to approve the minutes from August 17th.
Thank you. Second? Thank you, Nicole. We're going to go through roll call one more time. IVP?
Yes.
Gen Rep 1?
Yes.
Gen Rep 3? Thank you. AAC?
Here.
CEC?
Here, yes.
CAC?
Yes.
Facilities?
Yes.
FSC?
Yes.
SWC?
Yeah.
Seeing as the majority of council members have voted affirmatively, this motion passes and we approve the minutes from August 17th. We will now move on to public comment. Just a reminder to those, we have one member of the public here. We have 30 minutes allotted for public comment. Each public commenter will be allowed 2 minutes. When they reach 10 seconds left of their time, we'll put the gavel to the table as we're going to wrap up. We will begin with audio-only public comment. Public comment will officially begin at 7:08 p.m. And we will begin the timer. So we'll start over here. Seeing as no one else is here, we'll move on to audio and video public comment. Thank you, Vivi. And that is the close of our public comment for tonight, ending at 7:09 p.m. We had no special presentations tonight and no appointments, so we'll move directly into officer member reports, beginning with the Office of the President. A few updates from our office. We had a lunch with the 7-member Dante Acosta of the 38th District, the Student Government Office of Government Community Relations. This assembly member is particularly committed to Veterans Affairs and affordable higher ed, according to himself. He has been very vocal in regards to the UC audit and has been very critical of the Office of the President and has made some interesting Facebook posts about it. But when prompted to ask about how much he's engaged with students in regards to the audit, he hasn't really done much and is committed to doing so. So I've reached out to Chloe's office, but if any other office is interested, we're looking into organizing a forum where we'll invite our respective representatives and local representatives around us to have a forum where they can hear directly from students. So when they're voting on issues related to state investment in higher education and making claims about the UC's budget, they can come from a place of knowledge when speaking about the students' experience. We're also going to be connecting them to the Student Veteran Association as well. We also had a meeting with Assemblymember Sebastian Ridley Thomas's office on Monday. They are very much committed to increase campus engagement. He is our representative. Sebastian Ridley Thomas is looking to be on campus more. They are looking into potentially having a satellite office, either on campus or near campus, so we'll be looking into that more. They have an internship that they're especially proud of called the Public Leaders Program. It's a year-long program. They're open to having students be flexible with their timing, so you can only come in for 2 or 3 days a week. They have flyers here if anyone's interested in picking one of those up. The Assembly Member's Office is also interested in said forum and learning more about students' perspectives so they can represent them more holistically when voting in the legislature. And his office is hoping to do a special presentation for us all in the fall. So be on the lookout for that. Met with Lieutenant Kevin Kilgore of the UCPD, who's now going to be covering the portfolio that Nancy Greenstein previously held. Also met with Chief Lee from UCPD. Just so everyone knows, we are one of the only 2 UC campuses that has a Police Chiefs Advisory Council, which is really exciting. The Advisory Council is currently made up of 8 members. We're looking to have more members on that council. So if anyone's interested in serving in that capacity, let me know. Few updates. So last week I spoke about this new update to the Bruin card where students can put their preferred names on the front as opposed to their legal names. We are currently working with UCPD to see if there's the potential of removing the legal name from the card at all, because currently it's in the back of the card. And for students specifically those in the trans community, that is a constant outing. So we're looking to see if we can standardize our practices with those at other UC campuses that don't require the legal name at all. With regards to reporting hate crimes and such activity, which is something that is, I assume, is on a lot of our minds right now, UCPD has found that students tend to not report certain instances, and the reason why they don't do so is because students don't want to be affiliated or on the record for those things. We as elected officials have the capacity to do so in a way that other students might not. So the question I want to pose to us all is, what is a mechanism that we can create by which students can come directly to us so we can report these incidents, if we feel comfortable doing so when they happen, to ensure that they are reported, even if a student doesn't feel comfortable reporting them. So that's something that we can continue to talk about. With regard to undocumented students, it's something that UCPD is very aware of, especially in light of the attacks on DACA this week. They wanted me to hopefully pass along and reiterate the UCOP statement of principles on undocumented members of UC, in which President Napolitano said that the UC will continue to admit undocumented students and students regardless of their immigration status. The UC will not release immigration status or related info and confidential student records without the permission of that student to federal agencies or other parties without judicial warrant, a subpoena, court order, or otherwise required by law. UCPD stated that it will not comply or coordinate with ICE, and Chief Lee was very adamant on sharing that there has never been a practice of asking someone about their immigration status for UCLA, and then that will be one. If there's a little consolation we can take in that, hopefully there's more that we can do, and I really want to applaud the efforts and really quick charge the office took with their call to action today. With regard to the Police Chiefs Advisory Council, there was a presentation by Ariella Schusterman of the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL. The greatest takeaway I took away from that was that white supremacists are currently recruiting in college campuses, and their activity has gone up exponentially in the last few months. We shouldn't be surprised if that is something that happens here on campus. It has actually happened on other UC campuses. I don't know if anyone heard, I believe last summer, a white supremacist group hacked into printers on UC campuses and printed out hundreds of flyers targeting specifically Jewish students. Something to be aware of. They might come in different ways, but I think the most important takeaway from that is that we should remain vigilant in supporting communities that feel most targeted by this activity. Had a great meeting with the Career Alliance to discuss priorities and opportunities for collaboration in the coming years, specifically with regard to the Bruin card and the importance of more inclusive housing on campus. On September 12th, Vice Chancellor Michael Beck will be joining us. For those of you who don't know, some of the agenda item to be already, so hopefully we're on that agenda too. UCLA is looking into 5 new housing developments that would result in 6,900 additional beds on campus. So we're hoping to encourage the campus to ensure that at least a portion of that housing is allocated in a way that is inclusive, specifically for students who need special accommodations, and that it's accessible to all, and looking at all gender restrooms as well. I also wanted to quickly commend and elevate ASUCLA's fundraiser that they're having for the victims of Hurricane Harvey. If you haven't already seen the donation box at academic A level, they're collecting change there. Hopefully we can support them in their efforts as well. And from the office side, we just had our second round of applications for appointments that just closed. Thank you, all of you who helped support in doing the outreach for that. And our internship application will be coming up soon. So any questions on any of that?
I have a couple questions actually.
Please.
So what's the purpose of the Police Chiefs Advisory Council?
So the purpose is to bring together different representatives or people who serve different parts of campus to be in constant communication with the PD to share concerns, but also hear updates from the police department as well. Okay. So let me assume maybe that you're getting a little bit at the Campus Safety Alliance. Mm-hmm. So that was actually a concern that I brought up with them, especially because the Campus Safety Alliance hasn't convened or hasn't made any attempt to convene in the coming year. It'd be interesting to see where the priorities of those two groups align and where they don't, and to see if they can potentially fill the same space or if it's important that they remain separate. So if you want to keep talking about that, we should.
And then also for Sebastian, will they tell us to have a satellite office on campus? What would that entail, and would he be taking current campus space?
So that was the number one issue that came up with it. This was an idea they proposed to past council members last year who were adamant, and I was very much in opposition to it being in campus spaces. However, if they were able to find a space near campus or one that we can one that they could pay for, obviously, because student fees shouldn't be covering it, I think it's important that we support and continue to encourage our representatives to engage with this side of the district, because the district is
And then lastly, about like the lack of reporting on hate crimes and like whether student government could like play into that. Student government in itself is also an institution, and like although it may be better that it's like student to student, students may also be uncomfortable with the fact that like they're still reporting through this sort of like institution, because like USAC in itself is also the sort of ivory tower, so it also might make that difficult.
So maybe we can put an agenda item on our agenda or discussion in the coming weeks to talk about less institutionalized ways for students to report, to ensure the report's going to be, even if it's not to an institution.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions? Fantastic. Moving on to the internal vice president.
So the council retreat will be on September 19th from 9 a.m. to 5 or 6, and we have a 1 hour break, and we have council meeting at 7 that day, and I booked breakfast, lunch, and dinner for all of you. So please come. And if you didn't message me right now, I assume you will come. So for the fans I give to you guys is from Hunan province. It's so Zara, Chloe, Christina, and I don't know about anyone else who met them. They came from a province, like from China, and all of them are student government leaders or commissioners. And pretty like what I did, and like I don't know what other commissioners did. I just introduced how USAC run, and they're really interested. I introduced them to USAC Live, and yeah. And also, so regarding the USAC Live, a lot of people ask me like why we can't see the old videos. It's because the guideline hasn't been updated for 4 years. So if we are going to follow this, I sent you the old guideline already. If we are going to follow this, we have to vote on it, or if you want any change, I just want to know like what you guys think of this. And we will talk about this in the new discussion area. Also a message from Mike. He's the sole office and advisor. So starting from September 5th, which is after Monday, the Labor Day holiday, all of the student groups can update their signatories. So for us, because I don't think any one of us were in the previous office signatories, no, right? Oh yeah, except Christina. So maybe Christina can just like update it by herself, but everyone else, can you please send me like your top 3 choices, like your 3 signatories that you want to put in record? So name, phone number, and email.
What if for everybody's signatories? That's fine. What do you submit it go through you?
Or you can just give it to Mike, like either way,
Okay.
yeah. But like if we don't update it before school starts, then things will get complicated. Yeah.
You can have more than 2 signatories, right?
No, you can't. Yeah. So those 3 will be the ones who book like all the books, meeting room like events and funding. Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and then for other student groups, it doesn't relate to us. Also, so for the retreat, for now only Dr. Geller and Mike sign up for it. If any of you guys have recommendations for any administrators, please let me know. If not, I'll just going to email whoever I can find and who wants to come. That's it.
Any questions for me?
Oh, are we still doing that thing on the 18th? Have a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What's that?
18th, like, I'm at like 10.
It's your birthday? I
No,
know.
it's not my birthday. I was like, no, on the 18th, right?
Yeah.
10-ish? 10?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
Mine's so ominous.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to Debbie Simmons and SGA?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay, good, because she would probably be a good person to come, just in case there's any additional questions or information that you need about like her accounts or
Yeah,
accessing money?
I haven't officially invited her, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be good to have her.
Any other questions? Thank you, Phoebe. Is anyone here from the EVP office yet? No. No worries. Moving on to academic affairs commissioner. Wait,
Did we not have my officer? Or is
no,
that
no,
at the
you're,
end?
you're, sorry, I just added it afterwards.
Oh, okay, got it.
My bad.
Wait, do you want to go first?
No, like you can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. Yes.
Okay, so I'll keep it short. I met with the other commons, past president Andrew Wynn. We're working on it with UCPD. I think I talked to Zara. I'm not sure if I talked to you about this, but I'll talk to you about this now. We're working on a quick way of how we can make sure and hold UCPD accountable to when they don't have the best use of the way they go about things. Because currently what happened was there was a student coming from an orientation. He was actually a grad student, part of the Undercommons. And so he was walking down the street and a student, I'm not sure from what UCPG said, a student reported suspicious activity from this Latino male with a bunch of tattoos. And so they went up and they were like, oh, can you show us your green card? And he was like, I don't have my green card because it's orientation, I don't have my room card. They were like, well, you could have picked up a room card from anywhere. So they like had him sit on the sidewalk, handcuffed for about 30 minutes, and then they let him go. So things like that can't go it just can't pass. So working with Andy to make sure that we can have some type of way that if a student goes through that, they're able to report it. But we're not sure if they're reporting it to the police, but I think we're going to be reporting it to not only UCPD and people within there, but also administration to let them know what's happening. But we're working on that. And then the grants are being underway. I'm super excited because we're going to be able to buy the Access Project's high school students SAT prep books. And then we refinanced the AAC office, and there's about $10,000 in our reserve, right? So talk to Debbie, and I'm about to give or create a fund within GRIT to make sure that we can help support their program, because right now CAPS is overflowing, and I'm not sure what they're doing with their wellness referendum, but we can make sure and manipulate parts of GRIT because it's peer counseling. That's the second thing from CAPS, and we can make sure that they can at least hire some more counselors, or at least have a little bit more programming, or $5,000 can do a lot. So that's our other thing that we're doing, and then I think I'll keep it short with that.
Any questions? So regarding the police accountability part, has anyone reached out to Chief Lee or Lieutenant Kilgore?
I mean, I reached out to him to let him know what happened,
Yeah.
but he was very unresponsive because they're always just like, oh, well, it was probably something else. So I'm really not going through the police on that one. I'm just going through Maria Van Easy and trying to see how we can hold them accountable through administration, but I'm not sure if that'll work either. But as long as we have a lot of public comments and a lot of things online that are saying UCPD is not doing the best protocol right now, I think that'll at least hold them somewhat accountable to what's happening. Because if administration doesn't work, if UCPD isn't working, I'm not sure what to do. So that's why we're kind of in the beginning stages of making something of a public forum that kind of gives name, address, things like that. That would be anonymous, but also it can hold them. I'm not sure. It's really up in the air. But we're doing something like that. And I talked to the names slip away. And we're trying to make it on a link on the My UCLA, the first page that you come through, because I think that is possible with one thing that USAC did last year. So we'll be checking that.
I could just make a quick recommendation. Lieutenant Kilgore just came into this job, and I think, at least through the conversations I've had with him, is very much committed to building relationships. And I understand the hesitation of coming from a community that has been traditionally targeted by PD. But I do think it's an important relationship to try to mend, and I have found that he's a supportive person.
It's difficult coming from the Undercommons and working with them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make sure that that conversation is had, but I don't want to overstep that.
No, of
So I
course.
just want you.
No, so if there's anything that I can do to help facilitate that as well, let me know. Yeah, Aaron.
How'd you hear about this incident? Because like I feel like stuff like this happens all the time.
Oh,
We never
well,
hear about it.
and so like, there was a couple actually, Saran got, yeah, she got profiled the other day too. She was like walking calling me and she was like, oh shit, you know, I'm like, yeah, so it happens a lot. But like it really goes like unspoken and like things like that can't really anymore.
What is the undercurrent?
Undercurrent is, I always get this word wrong. It's not formally, it's not informally, it's in it. What's that? Like when you were once, but now not anymore. Formerly incarcerated. Thank you, Christina. My memory. Yeah, formerly incarcerated students.
They're called undercommons?
Yeah, the undercommon scholars.
Oh, I see.
Any other questions? Thank you, Divya. We're now going to move on to the Financial Support Commissioner.
All right, so I think 2 days ago we posted on our Facebook page the FSC Fellowship application. We also advertised it during the most recent orientation. For me, like the fellowship is something that I think is really great because, like, for me personally, like that's how I found out about USAC, was doing the EVP and TSR internship my freshman year. Second, my chief of staff Sarah and my comms director Sam have been putting in great work to create our office's website. So look out for that. Hopefully it'll turn out great. And then the third thing, going off of what Ariel said about the anti-DACA stuff going on right now, I saw actually 2 bills currently in the state Senate, SB 6 and SB 54, which basically, you know, Republicans talk a lot about state rights, and I just feel like this is a case where California has an opportunity to counter some of Trump's plans in terms of anti-immigrant stuff, and so I think we should look out for that. And then the last thing, I saw an op-ed actually this week in the Daily Bruin about textbook affordability. So, I mean, if anyone wants the link, I can send it to you, but I thought it was a great article.
Any questions?
Not a question, but just a comment. I forgot to say this. We are, if you want to join and link up, we're going through the academic senate to make sure that all the departments explicitly ensure that those materials are online. It wasn't about textbook affordability moreover than it was about ensuring that those books and also holding professors accountable to when they do make a profit off students is on the syllabi. So it's those types of things that are going to be on there. And so the academic senate is working on making sure that the materials that you usually buy in store would be online on CCLE or in the reserve at the library.
I do have a question. Yes. So the fellowship, it's just an internship?
Yeah.
To learn about the commission?
Yeah, so basically like, we're still making, I have 2 fellowship directors who are like making the, I guess like lesson plans, like I don't know what to call it, but basically like first quarter, usually it's for freshmen and new transfers to like have an opportunity to just like learn about USAC and then like be integrated into the office. Like for me, I think like the way that Zach Helder did in my freshman year is that like we had like, the first couple of weeks, they just like talked about the different offices. Then like afterwards started focusing specifically on that office, and then you got to be assigned to like depending on like what you're interested in, like whichever committee or like whatever you're interested in, then you got assigned to that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just like curious about like fellowship. It just sounds like super fancy, and I was like, okay, well maybe that'll attract more attention if I do that and not just call it an internship. I don't know, like.
Yeah, I mean, fellowship sounds better than mine.
I guess it depends on like the office too, because like we did fact fellows because we thought it sounded cute because it was like half.
You're like, that's cute. So that's like up to us, whatever we want to call it.
So whatever you want to do.
I just like internship is like you intern for like your member of Congress, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
But
Like, paid, so,
yeah.
I got that question all the time. If it's paid, it's never paid.
Okay. Any other questions for Erin? Thank you, Erin. Moving on to facilities.
Okay, so my updates are kind of long today. So first, updates from facilities management. So there are a couple of projects that are gonna be going on over the course of the year. One, they're fixing the bunch elevator, so that's gonna be happening they're fixing one in October, one in January, and one in March, so they're gonna do like one at a time. And then they're also fixing the Shapiro Fountain, like the one next to Powell, is gonna go under the complete renovation this year. So they're going to finish it by the time graduation hits, so students can take their grad photos, but if students are taking like grad photos during like winter quarter or something like that, the fountain will be under renovation, so they won't be able to do it then. If they project that they won't be able to finish it like by graduation in 2018, then they'll move it over to the next year so that students can still take their grad photos. This summer, the classrooms in Haynes are currently being renovated, kind of similar to the renovations that happened in like South Campus and Young Hall and More 100. And then they're also adding AC units to Bunch and Roll. And then lastly, my favorite, the Powell bathrooms are gonna be renovated by next summer. I'm gonna see if I can try to push it to earlier, but if not, it will definitely be renovated by next summer. So that's everything for facilities management, so they're working on a lot of stuff this year. So in terms of commission updates, first off, our Letters to Charlottesville event was successful. We have 75 letters and counting. If you still like to write a letter, I brought some materials here. But we're going to be sending the letters September 6th. If you're not able to send a letter by then, I can just send you the address that UVA Council gave me, and then you could just like send it over to them. So their council is going to have an event where they distribute the letters like through Charlottesville and like to students. And then we also met with the registrar, so they are going to be sending out enrollment appointment emails, either fall quarter or winter quarter. Once they send like a progress update email, since it's like academic terrain, I'll get you in the loop on that. But a second thing that—
Wait, can you go back and recap? So what about?
Yes, so you know how when your enrollment pass comes up, you have to like go into My UCLA and you'll see the tab. Yeah, so now they'll send a notification when enrollment pass comes.
I tell all my students every orientation, I'm like, yo, they do not send me notification. You just have to go check. And sometimes you, like, as a first year freshman, like, you're not going to know what an enrollment appointment is.
Exactly.
So they miss their pass.
So if that's like one thing that you want to focus on this year, that would probably be a good idea, because like a lot of students, especially from the transition from like NSA orientation time to like that next quarter, they really don't know what they're doing. So if there's a way to like make that more effective, that would be really useful. Another thing that I brought up that they said they'll look into, they haven't made like a concrete promise on, but this year a lot of like series were changing, like the physics series, the LS series, and a lot of the information was kind of scattered, so a lot of students didn't know that this was going on. So if there is a way for like the registrar, like for something to pop up on the site so that students who have like majors relevant to that would know, that'd be something that would be really useful. So once they send like that first email update, I'll get you in on that if you do want to work on it. And then in terms of OSAC, so for the office space stuff, we're going to be kind of like revamping the way OSAC works, because it's been like pretty inefficient in recent years. So we're going to try streamlining the application. Hopefully when the USAC website is renovated, we want to have like a tab for like student group resources, and aside from funding, we can also have like tabs for like office space reservation as well, and then that would be like solely devoted to OSAC. So like the application and everything could be online. So we're going to be proposing bylaw and guideline changes, hopefully soon, to change how the OSAC chair conducts outreach, and also the description of the OSAC chair itself, because right now it's really weird the way OSAC is structured, because the OSAC appointment is only for 1 year. So it's like every other year, because office space is allocated every other year, but mailbox and locker space applications open every single year. And then also during that off year, there should be some sort of preparation for like office space allocation the next year. And then also audits should be occurring every year. So the OSAC chair position in itself should be a 2-year position, and like that's what we're trying to go for. But we will be bringing like the official bylaw guideline changes once they're completely structured, probably at the next meeting. And then it's interesting that you mentioned police accountability, because we actually did reach out to UC Davis. They're actually the only UC with a police accountability board. So the police accountability board, it's, if you just like type it in on Google, you'll find the website, but it's a bunch of like members of administration as well as students from the university. None of them are a part of the PD, and they it's kind of like in the name, like they hold the police accountable for cases that do come through the board and like they make the final decision as to like what should be done in those sorts of scenarios. So if that's something that we could implement at UCLA, I think that's something that we should be pushing for, because although we do have like advisory councils and like safety alliances where like different entities of campus can discuss, like come together and like discuss like aspects of safety and emergency preparedness on campus, it's really important to also be holding like these aspects of administration accountable. So having like an official board to do so would be like a great way to like continue moving forward on that. If we want to make it sort of like a USAC council initiative for offices that are interested, because it looked like a couple of offices were expressing interest, I'd definitely be down to do so and like continue like an official push for this. And then lastly, we met with the Career Center. We mainly focused on how the Facilities Commission can collaborate with them specifically, because with the Facilities Commission, the reason that people apply into the commission is because they want to get experience in fields like, say, urban planning, sustainability, environmental justice, and those are fields that are specifically represented in like mainstream like Career Center, or even like career development initiatives on campus. So seeing if there are ways to collaborate with like even the Luskin School of Public Affairs to get more undergraduate students like associated with like, and getting more information on those sorts of fields in general. But that does like lead into a larger question of like of whether we should even have like more of a career development focus within USAC. I think that's something that at the very least deserves a discussion, but like that's up to like council just to decide if like they would want to like continue doing so on like an office to office basis for like whatever offices are interested in collaborating, or whether we want to like create something institutionalized that's focused on like career development for students, in the sense that like making sure that there are resources on campus for students to focus on career development, and also for communities that have difficulty securing internships and like experiential learning, like due to just like systemic barriers, like making sure that that the campus is working on making those sorts of things available to different communities on campus. So yeah, that's it for me.
Because we have to email updates, so what were you gonna do?
Oh, because I think earlier you were saying that like the emails weren't actually being sent, but like it would be updated.
What we're doing is actually sending emails, because there was no email being sent before. So what we're doing is before the registration date, it'll be like public knowledge, or like a 2-week advance notice for them to know when their enrollment date is coming.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's
Yeah, when I went into the meeting, they said that like they weren't aware that it was happening, but maybe it's because like just issues of like things going like down the pipeline or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Frank's the person that I talked to, and he was just like, yeah, we're done. So we need to give him like a draft for that, and then we need to access like it's just rough between all the different like dates of when people do get their enrollment passed, but it's all in here. So like he's gonna start doing it in winter quarter, when we can do at least a week or two in advance, so students would know. But there was no, before that, there were no emails being sent at all. Like I don't think there were any notifications. If you want to work, yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Any other questions?
Oh, what exactly are they renovating on the, like the fountain for? What's wrong?
Oh, so the lights aren't working, the fountain's leaking, so just sort of like revamping it in general. It's gonna look exactly the same, they're just like fixing like structural things with the fountain.
Yeah, why does it gonna take a year?
Yeah, so there are a lot of like barriers to go through for, so, yeah. So.
Until the number breaks.
It's like, it's similar for like.
You're gonna
this-
say?
yeah.
That's a joke.
It's like similar for like fixing, like they're trying to get an AC unit in Moore Hall, but like the issue with that is like they want, like it's like a $10 million project, like just because of like the structure of Moore itself compared to other buildings. So I guess it like really depends on what it is.
Just quickly too, with regard to the career development question, so last year, I believe USAC amended the bylaws to create the internship appointment that serves as a liaison between USAC and council. In my first meeting at the Career Center, they mentioned that in terms of defining the scope of that appointment, it's pretty unclear what that person does, and they're more open to it being a more robust career center liaison. So maybe it's something that we can look into doing with them specifically. And with regard to the internships, I think it's awesome to think about it as a more holistic council thing if that's what we're interested in doing. This year, our office specifically is working through Bruins Hire Bruins to build those relationships with alumni to have those internships opportunities, and we're looking at the equity component of it as well. So I don't want anyone to think that it's not being thought about, but thank you for bringing it up too. Any other questions for Zara? Great, thank you, Zara. Now we're moving back to Gen Rep 1.
Great, so exciting news. So this is like a plan that's been in the works. I've been having, like, everything here starts with meetings, like a bunch of meetings. Okay, so actually, let me do a timeline instead. Okay, so last week, I believe on Wednesday, the Undocumented Student Program, along with the Government and Community Relations Office, I'm guessing it's an office. Okay. They hosted an event where it was sort of like a dialogue discussing all of the new bills that were introduced to Congress regarding like DACA and undocumented, just like people in general. And so it was basically like a rundown of all the different bills. And the purpose of like that dialogue was to figure out where UCLA wants to center its support around and like what might be the best way to go about that. And so they kind of, based on like the conversation in the room, it was kind of all, I mean, there's better, of course, legislation. Like, for example, there's this HOPE Act that's really like comprehensive. But the thing is, it's only supported by like 116 Democrats and not necessarily like both houses. So they don't want to necessarily support something that's might not even like pass, like in the House of Representatives. And then, so where the support is kind of being given is with the DREAM Act. So that's kind of like what came out of the meeting. The only difference between like the DREAM Act and the HOPE Act is the amount of time that, like, once you like undergo that process, the amount of time you wait to get like actual citizenship status. One is like 5 years, the HOPE Act, and then the other one's like 13 years. So it's just like a big difference. And that's kind of like why, I guess, why like there's more support with the DREAM Act among like Republicans and Democrats, just because it came to sort of like a mid-ground type thing, even though I've gotten 13 years is like so long. My goodness, like it's better to like get married, you know? Okay, the next thing. So out of that meeting, I actually met with the director of UCLA Spark. So UCLA Spark, if you didn't know, is a crowdfunding UCLA like website here on campus where they just do like a bunch of crowdfunding. And so the director, her name is Taylor, and so I met with her and she was like, hey, like, would you be interested in having a crowdfunding campaign for scholarships for undocumented students? And I was like, yeah, like that would be awesome. And so she gave me like a rundown and a timeline about when the campaign would have to start and by when we have to like commit. And then essentially the campaign starts like November 7th up until December 15th. That's when you actually like outreach to donors and different networks, and like the build up until then is getting like the website together, which is in the UCLA Spark website, but there's like a whole component and you have to give incentives. Like if you donate like $100, you get like a shout out on Facebook, whereas if you donate like 5,000, you might get like an invite to like, that's kind of like what you have to build up. And then there's also this whole video that you have to come up with, sort of like to get people like interested. And there's several examples of that in the UCLA Spark website, because there's past campaigns that have already been launched. And so going about that, because it's difficult because the general office like fluctuates, Taylor was like, oh, I think you should work with the undocumented student program to find a way to like institutionalize that. So this is a campaign that they can launch every year. And I was like, yeah, like that's awesome. And so that would be a lot easier because every time you open a crowdfunding campaign, you have to open up a whole new like account. And so that's just, Taylor said it was a big headache. And I was like, okay. So I talked to Valeria, who's the director of the USP office, and I like approached her about the project, and she was like, yeah, like, you should totally do it, and you have my support, and you can use my account. And so I was like, great, like that's awesome. And she told me to involve Ideas, which is another like undocumented friendly group here on campus, if you didn't know about them. Yeah, and so so the thing with Ideas is like, I did reach out to them, and I got like the only thing that I got back from them was, okay, I'll bring it up in like a meeting, but they're just kind of like, I don't know, since it's summer, they're kind of all over the place. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna kind of like spearhead this project. And then if y'all wanna like join along later on, like you're totally welcome. Like it's an open thing. It's just this kind of project needs to move now because by September 18th, we had to like fully commit, which we kind of have already done. It's just a matter of like filling out this application to like secure that we are going through with it, but we kind of are. So that's going to be like one of the office's biggest projects. Okay, and then another thing, this is more like an announcement, but today in the like student activity center conference rooms, Telemundo, which is like a TV network, was here, like with like giving interviews to students, like undocumented students, to talk like sort of like in support of like everything that's going on in like the federal level regarding like DACA being rescinded or not being rescinded, you know, like because that's kind of like a big issue. And so I got to see that and I was like, wow, like I actually was invited, but I couldn't go because, and here's like the next announcement, because I had a meeting with the director of financial aid. His name is Ronald Johnson, and then we were also discussing like different resources for undocumented students and like ways to expand like scholarships and funding. So that meeting, like he's a really cool guy and everything, but it's just like it was a lot more informational, and then sending me out to like different people to ask questions. And so I was like, okay, like this is like it's not as smooth or as fast of a process as I thought it was going to be, which is I guess like every kind of project we undertake here. But basically he just kept telling me that financial aid office is more in charge of like distributing money. They don't generate revenue. So it's like they're even limited on like how they want to go, like how they can do that, because they just can't, because the money that's allocated to them has already like a set place to go. And so like one of the biggest concerns that I asked them was like, okay, well, not only like, let's say DACA gets rescinded, that's like the biggest effect that it would have on students is not being able to have work study, which I also addressed that it was already an issue for students that don't even have like DACA to begin with. And he was like, well, in simple terms, that's kind, you know, like you can't really do anything about it. And so that's kind of like the answer. I just can't, there's a lot of like, we can't really do anything about it. But in more like academic type language. And I was like, okay. So that was a bit frustrating on the end of the meeting, but then another thing that came up was this whole concept of like equality and equity in terms of like distributing like UCLA grants to undocumented students versus like other students. For example, like students with an expected family contribution of $0 that are like US citizens versus like undocumented students. There can't necessarily be more distribution to one student because of like their status, because they said they kind of already do that, but it's just like $300 extra that they allocate. But they said they couldn't go any higher, and they're planning on like stopping that altogether because there's legal pushback and like threats of lawsuits, because that's like not equal and or equitable. He kept saying that word, and I was like, okay, well, so a lot of like I don't know, not necessarily bad news, but disappointing news, but still very informative. And then we came up with a plan of like who we're gonna speak to next. That involves like the development office and then the career center, and then like I have a whole like the Bruin Resource Center. So it's like a whole type of a lot of reaching out that has to be done on my part, and then like saying if because when you go to someone, they just send you to somebody else, and then they'll send you back to like the same person. So the person who I went with, his name is Julio, and so he's part of like the undocumented student program and like ideas, and he's like really into like all these different communities. And so I was like, okay, like let's have a plan of action to like maybe sit down everyone together, because Ronald Johnson was like, yeah, like I'd be down to meet with like everyone if you just sat them down together. And we were like, okay, like now our plan of action, like our fastest plan of action is just contacting all of the different offices, meeting them with them individually, and then figuring out how to meet all together. So yeah, that might take a couple weeks just because like you have to meet with everyone and then schedule like a whole meeting. But you know, that's something that we're going to continue to do. I think that's all the updates I had. But yeah, I'm excited. Those were the first updates I've given this summer. So yeah. Thanks.
Any questions for Nicole? Thank you. We're now going to move on to the administrative representatives. Any updates? Or maybe we'll start at the end of the table and move our way down.
Just two things. So I have I need some more signatures for SGA. So FICOM, budget review director, president. I don't think there's a CS committee fund chair appointed yet, but also academic affairs and facilities commissioner. So you can sign if you're here now before you leave, and then I'll just reach out to whoever's not here to get your signature at some point. And then I know, Ariel, you had asked me about parking. So I actually do have an update about parking passes for fall. The permits are gonna start September 18th. So if you need parking prior to September 18th, you're gonna need to get a summer pass if you don't already have one, and they can retroactively adjust the cost for you so that you're only paying for the portion that you're actually using a parking pass. So if anybody needs that, just email me your name, student ID number, and whether you live on or off campus. And then our contact at Parking Services will help pre-fill summer forms for you all. And then as soon as I receive the applications for fall, we'll do a Google Doc, and then you just add your name to the Google Doc, and then we'll distribute those. And so those are for any of you as officers, and then anybody within your office that needs to have parking, so like the chief of staff or, and there's a limited number, so it'll kind of be up to you all to determine how that gets distributed for you. That's it. Any questions?
Just out of curiosity, do you know when our pictures that we took are gonna be on the display?
Very soon, because I just saw the proof today, and the proof looks really good, so yeah, very soon.
Can we get those also emailed?
Yes, so I actually need to reach out to the photographer, because I think he has to adjust it without the watermark. So as soon as I get them from him, I will email them all to you so you can use those.
Is that correctly? So you decide one of them didn't need parking, so it's like, it's the parking is like a guaranteed parking.
No, it's just guaranteed parking. Yeah, so I think for you all, it's just lot 4 yellow permits. There might be one other lot, I can't recall, but yeah, it's just basically reserved parking so that you don't have to, you know, deal with the whole like first come first serve. You guys kind of have like a set aside allotment, but yeah, it will be regular price. There's no discount on that.
So do we email you now if we need one, or is that what we're doing?
Yeah, no, so you're gonna need to start with us summer because you need parking before the 18th of September. Definitely email me now so we can get you set up with that. If you're fine waiting until the 18th, then as soon as I receive the applications, we'll go ahead and do the Google Doc, and then you just pick up the application from my office. And then you take it to Parking Services to turn it in and pay the fee and they'll give you your permit.
Where's parking lot 4?
Lot 4 is, yeah, right out here by staff, yeah.
In between.
I think that's the closest one. I think lot 7, there's
Oh, yeah,
also
what's that one?
the other lot.
Under
the IM field.
Next to, they're not like the same? They look like
No.
it's the same thing.
They're connected.
Okay.
They're connected, but separate, separate passes, so,
Oh, okay.
you can only park in the lot that your permit is for, and except after like, 5:30 PM, then you can park in any lot, but, because during the day, you can only park in your assigned lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but all that information will be on the Google Doc too, so you'll see which lots you can, if you have the option of choosing more than one lot,
Okay.
So any other questions?
So my name is James Abuaji. I graduated from UCLA in 2011. I entered here in 2006 and kind of like hit the ground running. So part of the class, 2006, I was part of the 96. So that was the year where they had 96 Black students that were accepted into the university. And so all of us were kind of just like involved in increasing the amount of students of color in the university. So like from there, became an RA for 3 years, did some stuff in SAC. So I worked with Blaze awareness group. Just really when we came in, had to be involved because it was just like there was so much to do that needed to be done. So I did that for a couple of years, and kind of felt that like with SAC, we're in a bubble. And so basically like I had that kind of experience of doing stuff outside, but what matters is like what the students know. So that's when I joined USAC and actually started off with SWC, and then was like the campaign manager for FSC. And so I got a real passion for AIDS, HIV, AIDS awareness stuff. And so that's kind of where I started with that. And then now I work at Children's Hospital, doing research that involves basically improving health outcomes for young men of color. Yeah, and that's me in a nutshell. So yeah, you guys can pick my brain. I'm just here as like, I mean, I saw the position of like, this would be a good way to get back to UCLA because I had a lot of great experiences here. Left my RA experience here, and my wife here. And so it's just, yeah, so I wanted to give back in a big way or in some ways, that's the best way to do that.
What buildings did you RA in?
My first year I RA'd in Canyon Point, and the last 2 years, it's like the beginning of the transfer theme, so that's when I did Delta for the last 2 years.
Well, thank you so much. We're so excited to welcome you to the council.
I'm excited to be here.
There are no other questions. That'll be the end of our officer member reports for tonight. We're going to move on to fund allocations. We have Ryan here. Proxy.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Ryan.
Can you hear me okay?
I can't hear you.
Did you ask? Can you hear me? There's the volume on.
Yeah, the volume is on.
Can you hear me okay?
No. I'm the only person here.
We have to get really close, guys.
Can
If you want, if you can just amplify whatever he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
What are you saying?
Okay.
Hi.
So there was only 2 applications this week. And one of them was from a USAC office. It was from the Facilities Commission. They requested, and we recommended $85 to be fully funded that. So I believe that one has to be approved separately from the just regular student groups.
Okay, anything else? Anything else?
Yeah, there's more, but you have to.
Oh, okay.
Like reiterate.
So the first one will be the USAC office, will be
Facilities Commission.
facility commissioner, and the spending is $85. We need to pass that separately from the others. Yeah.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the funding allocation of $85 to the Facilities Commission. Can we get a motion?
I motion to approve the funding of $85 to the Facilities Commission.
Okay, so we're gonna do the full roll call once again. IVP,
Yes.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3,
Yes.
AAC, CEC, CAC,
Yes.
Facilities,
Abstain.
FSC, and SWC. By a vote of 1, they rarely give 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 0 to 1. This motion passes and allocation is approved. What's the next allocation?
Yeah,
So
right.
The next allocation is just for one event, but it's a non-USAC group. They requested $1,742.96, amended $930.
Which group is this?
Did you catch
Excuse
that?
me, which group is?
We don't have to disclose the groups on the
Okay, so, but
in
we
the
don't,
council meeting, only if they're
can
USAC.
you repeat the numbers?
So the requested amount was $1,742.96.
96 cents?
Yeah, $1,742.96. And we recommended $930.
$930.
Your recommendation is 930.
Yeah. Anything else? That's just one group, okay.
So now, we need someone to move to approve the allocation of $930. Justin, we're gonna do the local roll call one more time. Sorry, that is. IDP,
Yes.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3, AAC, CEC, CAC, Facilities, FSC, SWC. Seeing as all council members have voted affirmatively, this motion passes and the allocation is approved. Seeing as we have, thank you, Ryan, for joining us. Seeing as we have no old business tonight, we'll move right into new business, beginning with the reform discussion from today.
Okay, so. So what we're doing is, Article 9, Section 4 of the Election Code outlines slate spending limitations will vary with each election according to these guidelines. Each candidate running with the slate allows the slate with an additional $200, which goes to a total expenditure limit for the state's promotion of their entire pool of candidates in this particular year. These funds are not to be applied for the promotion of a single candidate or a fraction of the candidates within the slate. Such a limit will be dependent on the number of candidates running on the slate. Regulations regarding this protocol are as follows. Given that the slate is running 0 candidates, they will have a 0 expenditure limit. Given the slate is running multiple candidates, the expenditure limit will be by a factor of 200 for each candidate at a maximum of 2,000, at a limit maximum of 2,000. Refer to Article Section 4. Section 4.8 for further regulations regarding the slate. So my action item for tonight is flashing what's in red if everyone has seen that. So then that is what we're doing. This is yeah, so there it is. Comment. So
Can you use like less, like more simple
what,
words?
okay, yeah. So at a slate, right? Slate runs like 10 people, right? They get each candidate that gets $750. 750 times 10 is 7,500. Then each candidate that's running on that slate gets an additional $200 for being on a slate. Then the additional $200 gets, it's like each person gets 200, right? So then that 7,500 gets, like, wait, sorry. So they have a total of 7,500. And then each candidate got $200 just for running on a slate. But the limit is at 2,000. So they're able to run 10 candidates, and then they get 200 per candidate at a limit of 2,000. So they had 7,500, then you add 2,000 to that 7,500, which would give you 9,500. So what I'm proposing to do is strike the 200 that each candidate gets for running on a slate, incentivizing that ability, and then making sure that it's just 7,500 for whatever they're running on the slate for. So it's not an additional per candidate, it's just slashing that what would be an additional.
What is the reason why there's an additional 200 added anyway?
So honestly, this is just the first step in refinancing elections in general. For the most part, I'm not sure why, but in the past, what has been done with at least $2,000, as we've seen in the last election, has been kind of restricted materials have been displaced, like the bar pay app that we saw last year from Bruins United, having drinks at a different bar and like having students come to that bar and like try and vote for those candidates. Things like that would be under that jurisdiction of restricted access from of the election code. But the reason why is when you have a slate that's running 10 candidates, that like 7,500 is almost more than enough. Adding $2,000 to that is kind of it gets in the murky water of where can they get that money, where can they put that money, because I know we've seen candidates running this past election that ran on $70. So I mean there is an amount of social capital with running on a slate as well. So just bringing that up and making sure that we know that equality and equity are two different things when it comes to slate funding.
So So I know this comment is going to be understood by some as coming from someone who read the slate, so I want to put that on the table. That's not at all or it's not a critique of what we're doing, it's a critique of the way that we're doing it. I think if we are going to make a change to the bylaws, we should allow students the information to know the bylaws for each change that we're doing so. So I would encourage us to not vote on this item tonight. That's not for me, not at all a judgment on whether or not we should be passing it, more so a recognition of the fact that this was not, the language and the change was not in the bylaws and we shared it with the public, and so students don't know those changes being made. They can't come speak in support of it or in opposition of it. Without saying whether or not I support this particular change, I do want to encourage us to table this until next week, or our next meeting, which is September 12th, just to allow students appropriate time to engage with the change and share their perspective to ensure that we are making the change that is representative of the students.
Also, just like a general comment, so expenditures are like they're online for the past couple years of elections. So for this past year's election, the campaign expenditures are on the election board website. But if you're looking for expenditures in 2016, there is a Daily Burn article that shows campaign spending. They don't break it down per candidate, but they break it down for independents, referendums, and slates, and then like the number of candidates that ran on that slate. So just like for context, there are like the information.
The thing, bringing it back, I think that as people that were elected as student body representatives, making sure that we are proactive in our attempts to making sure that with expenditures like this and the things that did happen in the elections past, we need to be making sure that things like this can't be happening every single time. I mean, this isn't the first time a slate has done something that has been problematic with their money, and this is only the first step in refinancing elections, and we'll be having this discussion throughout the year. So I don't think that we should be pushing it back now that the agenda is amended to make it an action item. If there are no further discussion about it, I would like to.
So I think there are still further discussion. I feel very strongly that as if we were making any other bylaw change, it's inappropriate for us to make the change, given that the majority of us did not see the language of this bylaw change before it was proposed and before it was brought up right now. I, for one, don't have a computer in front of me, so I don't even have access to it looking over at someone else. I think it's, again, if it was any bylaw change, I would hold this precedent strongly regardless. I think it's irresponsible of us and unfair of us to make this change without vetting it through students and allowing them the opportunity to see the change we're making. And that is the stance that I would take regardless of whatever bylaw change we're making tonight. So I do strongly want to assert that I think we should at least wait till our next meeting to allow the proper like our bylaws are the way they are for a reason. Everything's required to be on the agenda beforehand. This language should have been shared widely with students before this meeting, and I'm disappointed that it wasn't. Yeah, Justin.
I recommend that we table this as well. Something as huge as this, I need some time to like read up on it, and I think we should invite election board people that do the sanctions, ask them their opinions instead of the ones that oversee the elections. And also, I just think that campaign expenditures in general don't have too much effect on the outcome of the election, given that there's barely a handful of millions on the table currently. So I just see it as a nothing.
I mean, it's still an action item, so we can still vote as long as I get a second.
So are you formally moving to
Yeah.
approve the bylaw change?
To strike.
Can we discuss it?
So this is the discussion.
Yeah.
So if you want, is there?
I'm just wondering, so I'm looking at the language right now, below all of the red, it says candidates running independently against state affiliated opponents are allowed to spend an additional $400 on the USAC campaign. So what that means is that even including the $200 that you say like additional for the slated candidates, that's still $200 less than the independent candidates. So money-wise, the expenditure limit would still be higher for an independent candidate, even referring to what Zara was talking about on the Daily Roots website as well as the election board website. If you look at the money spent by independent candidates compared to state candidates, IVP, AAC. In those campaigns, the independent candidates spent 33 to 50% more. So I mean, I don't think that Like, I just don't see how you draw the conclusion that slated candidates are spending more.
So the thing is the difference is that slate candidates get to pool their money together. So that $7,500 that we all are, it's like a one person who's running at $7,500 when they only got $400 extra. That's the difference. Because if it's kind of short here, to get kind of time where discounted with all those amounts of like being able to pool in money, that's the problem because you're running against this small amount of money towards $7,500. So that's why. It's not, it's the idea of also having all your networks pulled together, you're having all your Facebook friends all together. That's what the idea of the slate is.
I want to
So like the social capital, is also accounted for with.
I just want to remind us this is not the opportunity to mitigate the validity or the validity of slate politics. We're talking about a bylaw change. And I want us to make sure that our conversation is focused on that.
Like, what's more the point of this is just to make campaign spending more equitable.
Yeah.
And so it's not equitable right now because slates are allowed to spend more.
Yes. Slates are able to pool in their money and spend much more than an independent candidate. That's the difference.
Do you not think that they're anything just to run independent?
I mean, there are advantages, but the social capital of being on a slate is much different than running
I
independent.
don't think it shows us here though.
Like you're able to pool in $7,500, like plus, you know, and against someone that isn't able to do that, isn't able to get discounts on this. You know?
I just have a question. So I got just a clarification. So the $200 that each candidate would get, so you like hypothetically there's 10 candidates, there's an additional $2,000. Is that $2,000? I don't know how to say it. So like where you use the example of bar pay, like that was used because it was like kind of like from outside of the UCLA like climate, like it's like not that it isn't, but like it's like removing money. Does that mean, for example, like is it equitable to like say if a commission gets sponsorship money, that sponsorship money can really be used? There's no like ties to what restrictions you can use it for. Is that the same thing with the $200?
It's
Do you see what I'm saying?
Maybe kind of.
Oh wait, let me rephrase it. Okay. For example, as a commission, you have like restrictions on what you can do with certain money, right?
Yeah.
For sponsorship money, if you receive sponsorship money, you can use it for whatever really you want for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Is that similar in the way you can use this extra $200? Yes or no?
It is similar, yeah.
So you don't actually, so there are no restrictions on how you have to spend the money or where you have to spend it, regardless if it's the part that you're contributing or the part that is being added by a slate. I do need to go on the record and saying that that money that went to the slate, and I hate that I'm being put in this position to defend Bruins United because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not here to represent a slate. I'm not here to represent one constituency. I'm here to serve or strive to serve all students on campus. No funding was paid to bar pay for that purpose. It's unfair that that's being characterized that way, and I think it's unfair to the students who worked hard on those campaigns to delegitimize their work in that way. I hope that's the end of that discussion because again, we're not here to discuss Bruins United. It's unfortunate that it's becoming that. Again, I feel very strongly that the way we're going about this is inappropriate. I would make that same claim if you're changing the bylaws regarding quorum, just because I think it's unfair that students haven't had the opportunity to comment on or see the language of the proposed change.
Looking at election.
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Miller.
Can you do specific issues? Technically, the election code does say that election code can be changed by a 2/3 vote of USAC. However, it goes on to say that amendments to the election code are expected to be brought by the election board chair, not by one of council. And so it's not that they have to be, it says should, which means you can. You don't have an election board chair. There's also no urgency because we don't have an election coming up. It is never a good idea to add an action item and take a vote without the agenda having said exactly what you're going to be voting on and that it is an action item. If we don't have an election coming within the next 2 weeks, I would strongly encourage you to consider tabling this an agenda and add an action item day of a meeting is when there is a real urgency. Absent the election, you don't have that urgency today. So I don't have any dog in the race, I don't care whether you make this change or not. And if you make this change today, once you appoint an election chair, they can come and bring a proposal for an entirely different election code, and you can vote or not vote to accept whatever they might do. So couldn't care less what decision you make. Care strongly that you not rush to make the decision today when there's no urgency. Give students the chance to be heard, and then vote whichever way you feel is the right way to go.
Sorry, is there something you wanted to say?
Just about the restrictions, like the only restriction on the additional $200 per candidate is that it says in the election code that like the additional $200 can't go towards like a specific candidate's race, but like towards the slate as a whole. So you can't use $400 for like a contested race and then like $0, like moving those $200 over, that sort of thing.
Help me kind of illustrate the bigger picture of slates having more of an advantage when it comes to campaign expenditures. If there's a strong minority of slates on the current council, and the kind of accusations being validated on the past election.
Well, wait,
Yes, Netta, go.
I mean, like, I don't think there's like, I don't know if there, I can't speak on Vivia's attack, but I don't think it's an attack, more of an attack that, I don't think it's attack, and I don't think it is an attack on a certain slate. I think it's more of like just bringing attention to the fact that there is this like inequality. But I mean, to speak on that behalf, because you did raise that question, looking back on the past election, I don't think would be fair because we are kind of going back to what Ariel said, like emphasizing like what has happened between Bruins United and Independence and whatever else. And we need to look at this holistically, aside from the past and historically what has happened and maybe the feelings that we have tied to those things, right? I think, Divya, if you want to go forward in doing this, it has to be truly because it's the inequality within it, which I think that's where your heart lies, the inequality that you feel is present in the bylaws.
Evidence for the inequality is what I'm looking for.
So you can't look at isolated incidents within just 1 year because slates have dominated this campus for the past like 10 years.
It's factually incorrect.
I mean, our advisor just nodded his head, and he's like, not to help you. Literally, it has been dominated. It's like been dominated within the cycle of at least 5 years, Ariel.
That's 5, yes, I'll agree, 10.
So we can't look at an isolated incident in one,
I'm
right?
agreeing with you.
So yeah, that's why like there's like a dominance within social capital, buying things in bulk, getting discounts for things, pulling in money, like all those things add up to why you would join a slate. Like the people itself is like the capital. Do you feel me? Like social capital is a thing, right? So like we can't really like look at things being like money wise like all the time. You need to look at the nuances of what social capital is when you do join a slate, regardless of like what that is, because you're able to pool all that money, all those networks, all that ability is so different than running.
I agree that social capital exists. I think though labeling it as social capital just demotes the value of the students' individuals' opinions, and they'll elect who they want to elect regardless of the social capital in those networks. I think in my own experience, I'm not counting to the social capital inequality that a slate would provide.
I think it's just like social science, like theory, that's not correct, like groupthink, like people like the popular cliques or whatever, like when it's like a group of social beings presenting who they are as becoming like the dominant people in the election. I think people who aren't as well, but like I'm thinking about when I was a freshman, right? And I didn't really know what USAC was, and when the elections did come around, all I saw was the slated groups and then like having passing out the t-shirts and stuff like that. That social capital really does get to students, right? And I think it's more, we do need to recognize that there is an emphasis there in the slates being what they are. Like, you know what I mean? Like we can't really de-emphasize that. Think about when you were a student and like maybe you weren't on a slate, whether I know you were, but like whether you were or not, like when you weren't affiliated with like being in an election, like think about what that meant to you.
Well, I'm thinking like if I were a freshman, I was like, okay, I see all them mobilizing, like if I was running, I'd just be like, okay, I need to mobilize as well, because it's hard.
Aaron?
It's like one thing that Justin just mentioned was like social capital versus like financial stuff. And I feel like they're trying to like say that they're trying to like weigh the social capital you have against the finances. I just feel like that's like an impossible thing to make a tabulation of. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't say that like that's $400 worth of social capital or $200 in this case. And so I think that if we were to move forward with this, the way that I would like amend the amendment would be to also take out the last line of section 4 and just wipe out that entire section 4 and just rewrite it. That last line says the candidates running independently against state affiliated opponents are allowed to spend an additional $400 on the USAC campaign, because if we're gonna make it so that it's like, so that it's equitable in that there isn't an extra $2,000 anything that slates have, then also independent candidates wouldn't have that, and then it would be like each slated candidate and each independent candidate would be running with the same exact amount of money as a top.
But you're gonna get to pool money.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so,
Nicole's-
okay. So like, it is fair to have the $400 there because independent candidates, essentially they're like nobodies, like who is, you know, like Divya Sharma, like no one knows, right? And then that's what, like, okay, let's pretend I'm like someone less popular, right? So like no one really knows who that person is, and so when you're voting and you see something like, I don't know, like my own slate, right? It's like something that connects all these candidates together that you just think, wow, like they have like this mission statement. They're all kind of like the same, not really the same person, but they're all coming from the same place. So it might just be, for a voter, it might be easier to just vote for a slate because like that just would mean that like the voter has to do all this research on who the hell like Divya is, right? And it's like, I know this isn't like the best example, but it's just like, and like I know, but like let me finish. And so that's what I mean by like individuals having to build themselves entirely and launch even bigger campaigns, which means that they have to use more spending, because with slates they just have not only their name and their brand, but it's like when you run as a slate, you run together, so you're always promoting each other. And so a need to cut back on the funding is just more equitable for independents. And if we were all running on $750, then slates still have an advantage because they're all like pooling their money, and it's like they're all running like together, because everything they do is together, and individuals, it's just whoever you can come up with to be on your team. And so that's why I think, I know it seems on paper like a disadvantage of slates, but like I'm on a slate and I'm, you know, like advocating on behalf of like independents because I see the problem. I have critically thought about it, and this is like, I have been thinking about this even before this council, and I think that this is just the most fair way about going about it. The only thing is, and I do agree with Ariel, is that I think we should wait for and push it back to next meeting, because this just seemed rushed and it's not fair as student leaders to just act on something and not have public comment or like, you know, just more attention brought onto it. So that is like my like set middle ground, I would say. But just look at past numbers for elections, and it's kind of like the numbers that I've seen. Okay, and this is something I have to clarify, but this doesn't end like my stream of talking. Okay, so I don't know where you went. Oops. Okay, so this is something that I don't really understand, because the expenses shows that like individuals on slates have like, for example, I'll just choose like Ariel. You have 630, and it just seems like, where does the actual slate funding go? Like, is that just not documented?
No, so
Like those $200, like, is that even
it
reported?
just wasn't used, right? So we didn't
okay.
pay it because it wasn't used, right?
So if you don't need it, then should it even be there?
No, it's not there.
Exactly.
It's not there. We're way below the limit. We were
Yeah,
like
so
way
it's not
below.
really necessary then. You're just kind of confirming that it's not really necessary. So I don't think it would be a problem.
I would say it's not necessary for them to kind of have that extra money either, since some candidates say
it's this whole idea of like pulling money together, that everyone is basically in it together. So, and one of the bylaws even states like, the money that you're using when you're in a slate, then you have to use it towards every candidate because you're in a slate. Maybe that's not the case for the signboards, which is like cool because y'all have to have your own. But it's like, it's still like everyone benefits from being in a slate because you're just in it together and you're on this team. And so that's why for individuals, it's critical that they get even more money, because if it was just the same, then they would still be at a disadvantage because they just don't have access to like the pool of money that everyone else gets. So does that make sense? Is that kind of clear? I still think we should move this to next week, but that's just like me coming at it from like being on slate and then advocating on behalf of what's right and what's just, and just like, I know we all have like our biases. I know we're not supposed to, but like they're all there because we're just like humans, right? Okay, so that's like my 2 cents. So come at me.
Just my perspective of all of this, it seems like slates are being penalized for voter lethargy. Like, I think it's up to the voter to choose who they want to pick, and I think it's truly evident that the voters will end up picking who they believe is the best person to sit at this table. And I think we should take the discussion, like, let's continue this discussion, but maybe in the future we can have a discussion on better informing our constituents and the voters about who they are voting for. Maybe there's more way, I don't know, we can cut red tape or something. I don't think this is the focus of the problem to solve inequality. Just focus on the voters because they're the ones putting us in this position.
Yeah, your hand is up next.
I agree with almost everything that Nicole said. Like, I thought that was really well said, but you know, like, it's very true that a lot of people jump to conclusions about slates, but that's also true in the negative. Definitely, like this year, like I saw that there are people who didn't even want to talk to me, people like who I've never met just because they heard something about Bruins United. So like, it works both ways. You know what I mean? Like, you can be the best person in the world running with the slate, and if that slate has like a good reputation, it'll really, really benefit you, and if it has a bad reputation, it'll really hurt you. So I mean, like, I see what you're saying about people like running with the slate benefiting you in some cases, but I think it can also hurt you in some cases. Like, we really saw that this year. So like, when we're weighing the social capital, we also have to look at it that way. In that, like, whenever you're an independent, you don't have to worry about other people, you know, screwing up and like hurting your chances. You know, whereas if you're running on a slate and like one of your slate mates, you know, I don't know, that's caught funneling money, I don't know, thought of something bad, funneling money, like that's gonna hurt you. So
Okay. First off, like you chose to run with that, and I think like the purpose of like, I think like looking at like election code as a whole and just like making things just like equitable, like the way that I see like slates and independent races right now, like the reason that someone like chooses to run an independent campaign or even join a slate, like hypothetically or ideally, it should be like, okay, they have their own like individual vision for where their office should go. That's why they want independent, right? But for slates, it's because they maybe have like a set of ideologies that they agree with, and like they run on those like fundamental ideologies, right? Like there shouldn't be any power dynamics associated with that. But in many past years, we have seen power dynamics associated with why people choose to run independently or like in a slate. So looking at this, like even like with this part of the bylaws, like even looking at like just campaign expenditures, it's not in its own little like thing. It's not isolated, right? Like when you're looking at like campaign expenditures, you have to also take into account the different aspects of a campaign, and for independents versus slates, how those hypothetical, not just in this past year or like 2 years ago, but like how all of those like hypothetical parts like associated with a campaign when you are in a slate or versus when you are an independent, how that affects your campaign. Whether it be the networks of a slate or like the networks of an independent candidate, or the amount of money that a slate used or an independent used, or like other aspects of campaigning, all have to come into play when you make these sorts of decisions. For every decision we would make in the election code. So like funding is not just funding, you have to take everything into account.
Okay, so how are we feeling discussion-wise? Because I'm down to table and bring it up next week.
I would feel most comfortable with that, to be honest with you, just because I think it'll allow more. And the conversation we're having now is robust, it's vibrant, it's great, and I appreciate that we're all able to like keep a level-headed in this and recognition of the fact that like we all have a vested interest in how this comes out on just all of us together for the sake of students. So I personally feel like it would be in our best interest in serving students to wait until September 12th. Hopefully even then more students will be on campus, we'll have more of an opportunity to weigh in, and maybe the public comment will come out in one direction or the other, whatever it does, at least we had the potential for more students to be involved in that conversation.
Do people want links to the finances?
Yeah, why don't you send them the group?
Yeah, I just sent them. Okay, Joe, we can take it.
Are we okay tabling? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next item under new business is the USAC lab guidelines. Please go with that.
Sorry. Jessica, can you,
Oh, what?
the USAC live deadline? Can we all read it now?
Yeah, no.
When was it taken down?
Huh?
Like the previous videos from.
We didn't take it down, we just made it private,
Uh,
since we are like violating the.
Oh, no wonder, because like, I
Yeah,
was
so we need
looking
to
for
get
one
this
today,
approved
and I
so everyone can see this.
So these are the guidelines that are currently on the website.
Jessica, it's part A, cross the not B. Yes, so for guidelines, so 1A, the video recording shall not be archived. So I moved to put that as shall be archived, so we need to cross it out so everyone can see it. Also for 1C, there will be for the second to the last sentence, the recorder will turn back on the live stream and ask all those who still wish to comment to do so. So give the public comment people an option of whether they want to, like what Ariel basically did every single time. And then turn page, second page. So if we do not, if we do archive the videos in YouTube, then we don't need a film permit. So we can just cross the last line now. The last would be the last I, the film permit went up. And everything else, I don't know if anyone has any objections or want to change. Yes.
just for the sake of consistency, was this language in this change publicized with the agenda to the general student body?
Oh, no.
So I want to be fair to the fact that we tabled one thing tonight because it wasn't publicized, and in the recognition of the fact that this too was not publicized, would it be okay if we also tabled this action vote till
Yeah,
the
sure.
next
We can,
meeting?
yeah, but we can like discuss now and then I can make the change and then, yeah.
What, so the film permit, what is that about? Like, I know it's, like, we obviously didn't renew it, but like, why did we have one? So, Dr.
So I want to give you a little context on how this came to be. And the issue really was around privacy. And to that end, I'm going to tell you a bit of a story. So shortly after we began the live stream, probably in the first few weeks, there happened to be a very heated, very well-attended meeting. Your secretary, who is not an elected official, but who is someone who is paid to come take minutes and has the opportunity to speak during women welfare, did just that. The IVP forgot to turn off the live stream. They also, although they had a policy that said that the videos would not be archived, left it up. And a third party non-affiliate took that video, edited it out of context, reposted it on other sites, which once that happens, you can never get it down for the rest of your life. in a way that caused her serious harm. She was getting hate mail. Remember that many students have email addresses posted in the campus directory. It was easy to access her, even though she wasn't one of you. All of you, even if you were to block your personal email addresses, your office email addresses are on the USAC website. People can easily find you. The harm that she experienced as a result of her words and video and face and name being identified, being able to be captured and edited and reposted was problematic. When we put these in place, the desire was to prevent this video from being edited, to allow people to see the words as they were spoken in context, but not to be taken out of context, edited together to have a different meaning than the one that was initially intended, and then spread. The internet is not something where you can control what happens. Doing a stream was intended to make it easier for students, undergraduate students, to be aware of what you do at this table. It was never intended to be for any audience other than your constituents, UCLA undergraduates. When you do the stream, anybody can watch. The current practice, which I believe is archiving in a way that only those who can authenticate it can access, limits it. Now, it goes broader than undergraduates because you can probably authenticate it and have a graduate student or a current employee. But it does at least put that firewall to keep the non-affiliates from accessing the video and doing something to it that ends up having something that was not what you intended it to be. The piece of having the posting outside the door that says, notice to all who enter here, by doing so, you agree to have your face, your voice on camera. That's important because someone who doesn't agree can choose to stay out, and it's very important. I'm going to throw my other hat. So I'm Deputy Title IX Coordinator. I care very much about preventing sexual violence, which includes stalking. People who are being stalked do not want to put their main face video out there where their stalker knows to find them. Having that sign outside can say to this person, it is not safe for me to enter this room. It gives them the knowledge to make a choice. It's incredibly important. The choice to stream, if you're going to change the guidelines around it, think about the why. Why are you doing that? Why are you streaming in the first place? What is the goal of streaming? And if you want to have the recording on YouTube where anyone can access it, edit it, and do other things with it, what is your reason? If you've got a good reason, do it. But I challenge you to really think critically about what is the benefit of having these available after the meeting. You have minutes. Anyone who wants to know what happened can read the minutes. The minutes are available after the meeting. And the minutes can't be used in the same way to cause an ad hominem attack on an individual. Any of you, or any of your constituents who come to make public comment. It could be anyone who speaks on the record that is edited and remixed in a different way. The one thing in here, though, that I understand over time we learned is not necessary is the film permit. I believe that in follow-up we learned that although a permit was initially obtained, once it expired, it may not be necessary for you to have a new filming permit. So I would encourage you to confirm that with the events office. And if that's the case, then strike the requirement for the IVP every year to update the film permit. There was an expectation that the original guidelines would be updated by the time the first filming permit expired. So doing an update incredibly timely, coming up with what the language is you want to propose, posting it so that your constituents can be aware, can know you're going to be voting, come to the meeting to be heard. Awesome. What choices you make those that when you think through what's the benefit of doing them, there is a benefit. So don't change for the sake of change for the sake of achieving the goals that you have for live streaming, whatever they may be.
I mean, don't we publicize the minutes? Like, can't people just read off of it, right?
Yeah.
So then, but there is no really necessity to have the video if people want to go back and like see what's happened, they can read through what was said.
Yeah, so I mean, either people really want to watch this as videos, or people just, it's privacy issue, so just two sides. So it's on us.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, but all of the live streams that have occurred throughout the years are saved privately or not at all? Just-
Saved into our account.
Oh, okay, so you can access them, but it's just like you can access.
Yes.
Okay.
And like the administrators.
And then does it automatically like go to private after you
Yes.
close the, okay.
Mhm. But people, like other people or UCLA people cannot see it.
Okay.
Right after this end.
It's more of a discussion in my head than it is like an actual recommendation, but I've been thinking a lot about USAC Live and going back to what Dr. like said about students' privacy, and I totally agree in principle that live streaming is important for the sake of transparency and accountability, but I myself, having been on the receiving end of that, based off the public comment I made and getting an email from a private account that basically said that Jews get everything that they deserve coming at them because of public comment I made during one of these meetings, like, I think a lot about who our responsibilities to, right? Our responsibility to be transparent and accountable is to students who are part of our association. It's not necessarily to that one person in Oklahoma who has valid as it may be to have that right opinion that is warped or meant to target or attack someone based on an identity or an opinion. So I'm thinking a lot about like YouTube is a very public, very accessible medium by which we share. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can share our meetings in the same video format, maybe on My UCLA where it requires a student to log in order to receive access to that, and not just open to the entire public, right? And I think like if we're able to do so, that fulfills our responsibility and our obligation to transparency and accountability to students without creating a situation in which council members, students who walk into the room, students who make public comment are attacked or made to feel, or even videos aren't edited in a way that can be used against a student or even against the institution in a way that or against this council in a way that I think takes advantage of our obligation and responsibility to transparency and accountability.
USAC, which is the student government at Berkeley, so they do their live streams on the site called livestream.com, and then they have their live streams available on the ASAC website. So even though it's still like a public thing that people can access if they go on the ASAC website, it's still not a medium that's like as pertinent as prevalent as YouTube or like everyone goes on YouTube, right? So like for this, I guess like there's still a chance for people to like target individuals who make public comment or like council members that they don't agree with, but they still have to like go onto like say our USAC website or like through the live stream site and like find our account and find all the live streams to do so. So if you're thinking about another medium, the ASAC one looks pretty robust. So
Just a question, are there videos archived on the live stream website?
Yes.
There's our, yeah.
Berkeley's, yeah.
I just think like after what you said about that student being targeted, I think it makes me reflect on maybe what if a student at UCLA edits a video? It's not just limited to outside people editing videos. Like if a student feels very strongly about one of us on council because they didn't want us to get the positions we have, they easily can edit a video as well. So like no matter whether it's someone not affiliated with UCLA or affiliated with UCLA, like these things happen. And I don't think like having that access to the video is gonna make us more or less transparent because we have literally we have someone who's scribing down what we're saying, and those records are like accessible and they're non-editable, like those are documents.
Okay.
So I don't know, that's just my take on it. Like we would never want to put any of us in a position where we feel harmed and unsafe and attacked, whether it be by a UCLA student or a non-affiliated student or person.
Okay.
Just something to think about.
Did someone raise their hand?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna say that, like, it seems like video is the issue, like, when faces being shown, if you just did like a podcast type of thing, where you can set up a little bit of audio, in addition to minutes. I mean, because they still be able to see or hear what was exactly said. I guess we have to figure out like, the system of recording sound in the whole entire room.
I think the challenge though with that is like even if like an audio can be edited, right? And like you put it on like a logo on a video.
But all this is not comedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, maybe we can just restructure the instructions for what comedy, the full name, using data, so everyone decides to go by. But there's other ways to make it.
So if a video, like if we were to make all our archived videos public, and then someone wanted to like edit it and make a new video, wouldn't the original just be like on the USAC page? So they would be like, oh, well, if this feels like a lie, well, the original's already here. So that's just like kind of like a question. I know that's not something I really want to do, but it's kind of like a.
If anyone's gonna like refer back
Oh,
to the
okay.
original video in like a 30-second clip.
Oh, like because they're not into like research and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I get you. Research. Yeah. Then people just kind of like believe like the first thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we were to revisit the idea of making it so that only UCLA students with a login could access the video, not to discount the fact that UCLA students could, cause harm, I feel like there could be things in place to hold students accountable in some way, because I know for CCLE, for example, you can see who's clicked which link at the time. So that is potentially a way of keeping track if that were necessary. If it were on CCLA or if it were on UCLA.
But it also is like when the harm is done, the harm is done. Like when someone like, I don't know, just thinking about like viral videos, like it's just one of those things, like people are gonna believe the person they see, and then like after the air has settled, like they're not gonna care that you have like receipts of like what the real thing is.
Maybe we can make it something like a video 360 thing, because you can't like record that off your computer, like the lectures we heard, I think can't be recorded. But yeah, like, well, it's like the new one. But yeah, there is whatever. Like you can't record it off. I don't know if that would help, because they can still record off their phone and like edit it. But like, and that's like the problem with the academic senate that's happening. But I think, yeah, that might be better, because it locks it. And like it would be kind of hard to edit the video out if you have another phone. But yeah, that would be a way to like lock the video, so it would be able to be recorded from a different thing. It also locks your browser too. So like, if they're really wanting to watch it, they can't like access anything else except for the video.
If you record it on your phone, then couldn't you like save the video and then edit it on your
I mean, it would be hard, right? Like that's what I was thinking. Like I mean, it would be easy to like do that for a lecture, but it would be hard to like not see a slice during your recording it on your phone. Like there's movement and stuff. I would think that would be a little bit less like. But also like if you hear something like Matt said, like you're just gonna be like, oh whatever, there's a slice there. That's what they're so, I mean, it's just like it's a way to hold people accountable and make sure that they don't like try to record it off their computer, but they can't. You can still record it off audio too. And so it's that.
So what it seems we're getting at is that we have like these two values in tension. One, that we want to uphold us ourselves as a council to the highest levels of transparency and accountability, but we also want to uphold values of safety, but also the accountability of those who are watching. So it sounds like we're all sensing this tension between the question mark is not whether or not we should have live stream videos that students can watch. It's about archiving and how that's archiving and the medium by which we're expressing those videos. And it seems like we've come up with different options for that. And maybe if we can, for the sake of ensuring that we can make some progress at our next meeting, if those who have proposed options can look into doing research on those options, or if those who propose them don't have the time to do so, others can step up to do so, so that by September 12th, we can say our options are A, B, and C, and then we can collectively agree upon what the pros and cons of each option are, and then make a decision together.
Oh, no, okay, I'll just, because it's really quick. Okay, what if like, we just kept them like privately archived, but then we gave students the option to like request them, and then maybe like fill out, like, I don't know, like a form or something, so that we have like their information in case like anything were to happen? I know that doesn't like fix the, I'm gonna edit this video, but like that in case someone wanted to see like a past video, or maybe just like be like, I don't know how like willing you are to do this, but like if you like want to come in and see a video, then like maybe hitting up Vivi and being like, hey, like, can I come and see the video?
But if they request it and then they edit the video, we know that it's done because.
Yeah.
But then we just like
But
give consequences.
So we don't have online.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when it is streaming, is it streaming?
It is streaming.
So then if it is, like in this world of like abstractness, it's streaming during it, right? So then if it's streaming, couldn't they still record it though? Like
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like they can record it right now.
Because like if they're, even if they get the archive after, like
Yeah.
they're still like gonna be like, oh, well, they could just like have their phone out the whole time of every meeting. Well, that would be like a lot for some. People do a lot for things, so. But that does like limit it. I agree. Yeah, I was like.
Yeah, like they could contact IBPA to watch the video. If not.
If we lock their browser while they're watching it, that's the only thing they can do.
I like that idea.
Right? Like if they're only like they lock their browser and then they're like watching that USAC live. I mean, they can still take their phone out. I mean, we could even lock their phones. We could try that during the lectures. But there are a lot over there. But yeah, I mean, we can try. We can see what we can do. I'll see what magic I can work with 360.
So, Dave, would you mind looking into Eco 360?
Yeah, we already got. Yeah, we're going. We're rolling. Even like that.
And maybe just specifically in regards to this, maybe like the 3 criteria we want to think about is live stream, like live stream, whether or not we're archiving, and if we are archiving, access to that. And then we can evaluate each medium on those 3 criteria and then move forward with it. Do we want to commit to Eco 360 or do we want to look into the value of My UCLA, or if we want to stay on YouTube?
I don't know if we have the money for Eco 360.
Or like broadcast.
How much money do we have that we can spend on like a cast system? Because what we're doing is we're reallocating money from broadcast to like transition. And so like, and we can't do it off a computer. It's like there's a because it like audio, video, and then captions. Is all those things for you. So there's like a unit for it. Yeah.
Can you see that? Can you see that episode down after?
Yeah, you can. It was in my update last week. Okay. Well, you can watch that thing.
No, she can't.
It's live streaming.
So if we can look into the value of it and the costs associated with installing said unit.
Yeah.
I'm happy to also follow up with my UCLA, because I think like the function of having people sign in is a nice function if we can make that work. Are there any other option for if you want to do it too? If you want to look into having it be
part of my UCLA.
Yeah, just so people have to log in order to have access, and then we can decide whether or not archive is best.
I think that will go with the broadcast, right? If you log in my UCLA, I think the only option would be like that.
To broadcast it.
To broadcast it.
Okay.
So that would be cost and
Okay,
Okay. So we can talk about it next time.
any other discussion regarding this item?
But as of now, we have to make it all private. Yeah, I just want like the students to know that we are saving them, but because we haven't come up with a new guideline.
And then so from now on for future reference, when we are discussing changing guidelines or bylaws, let's try to include them either in the agenda if we can, and that probably might require a bylaw change also, but if we can link the changes to the agenda, just so the students have access to those things.
I sent it in an email, I don't know if the students.
Yeah, so like if we're posting the link to the agenda on Facebook.
On Facebook as well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so like I like sent the bylaw change to Vivi, but it's, I mean, it's whatever.
Okay, so let's just make it all Facebook.
Yeah,
all
just
Facebook.
everything that someone emailed.
All
you,
the links.
Just, send it out.
I would say maybe except for appointments and applications, just because that includes students' private information.
Okay. So like everything that's bylaw change. Okay.
Just as a reminder too, there's also a formal bylaw change form and guideline change form. So I think that's good, best practice to use those forms specifically because you can, bold things you're adding, strike out things you're taking out, and it just provides a little bit more clarity about what the language changes. And then it also provides a space for you to tally the vote on that change, so that, that document can be record, and then that could be something that's sent around to the agenda or posted on the website. We can post it on the website ahead of time. So if you all need access to those documents, I can resend them, but I think it's good practice to use those.
So Christina's hand, Justin's hand, and that's
Slightly different direction, but for changing programming fund applications, or the language in programming fund applications, because student loans commission has those student loans programming fund, for example. Would we have to go through the bylaw change documents for that and then submit it as that one, or would that be a whole separate thing? I just can't remember how we did it last year. I think we did.
I think if you're just changing the funding application, you can probably just change it on the application itself, unless there's some reference to it in the guidelines, then you'll want to use that form. But if you're just, fixing the application document, I don't think you need to submit a formal form with that.
Okay, so just the changes.
Yeah, I think it's just if you're changing something on the funding application that is directly stated in the guidelines, then you'll want to also change your guidelines as well with that guideline change document and change it on the application. But if it's just something on the application you're clarifying or changing and it's not really specified or clarified in the guidelines, it's fine to just do it on the application itself.
Justin.
Oh, yes, I was just gonna say, when we're on the topic of like changing and bylaws and stuff, that those of us on CRC, Constitution Review Committee, we should start mobilizing that up as well.
We decided that we were gonna do that when school starts. So everyone's like, okay. So we can start mobilizing that.
But in the meantime, there's the Google Doc for the bylaws on the USAC folder, so like you could just add, so you could go to suggestions mode or make comments so that we have them.
And that was for everyone, if anyone wants to change their bylaws or have a thing, just add their stuff. It's kind of nicer if you, the office itself, adds their own flares to it, or things that they want to add to it, because then it's because since we don't know the specific office is best for this CRC, so understand what the changes are from the commissioner or the officer.
Mine was just a general question for you. I don't know who's working on it. But if we wanted to just have a member report posted on the agenda consistently every week, do we have to every week email you?
No.
Or can we just tell you can we always have one?
Yeah, just tell me.
Okay, cool. I always forget what I want to do, and then I don't.
So if we have no other discussion about that item, we'll move on to announcements. Any announcements today? Okay, got it.
Okay, so the CARE office, or the Campus Assault Resources and Education Office, came out with a new survivor series for fall. So basically they're offering alternative methods of healing. So you might have heard of yoga's healing for survivors, which has been ongoing for years now. But now they're adding other programs to it, and now they have art as healing, music, writing, and dance as well. So if you look on their Facebook page, and also I think the SWC page reposted it as well, there's a link to RSVP, and there's an interest form for the yoga's healing as well. I think that was it.
Any other answers?
Okay, so first 2 days of school, notebook drive, please come through, and then also mark your calendars, Wednesday, October 18th, Poly Pavilion, Major Blast. Learn about some majors, yeah.
What's that? We went through.
Major Blast, I mean, we do it every, or like whatever. It's like you can like learn about different majors, they have like department heads there. It's like pretty fun. If you aren't aware, if you don't
Wait,
know,
what's
you
the
wanna
date?
change your Major Blast.
No, what's the date?
Oh, October 18th. Yeah. So if you want to change a major, if you want to meet your department head, if you want to be like, hey, like, how do I do this class thing? They're all there. So like, it'll be exciting. There's food, yeah. I'll be there.
Any other announcements?
So for the enormous activity fair, just a question for all of you guys. Are you guys thinking like how can we collaborate and do something that can advertise USAC as a whole?
I was actually gonna make a point about that. So I was talking to, Jarrett, who's my assistant commissioner, and CAC, the chief of staff for CAC is like working, right, is the chief of staff who's working on that? They're working on putting EAF together, and like all the forms went out and stuff like that to the different signatories. We've kind of made the executive decision that all USAC groups are going to be together. I know sometimes you guys make special requests, what? Okay.
Oh, together. Oh, no.
Together in an area.
It's about everyone all in.
And that's just because there is hundreds and hundreds of groups asking for special requests, and to have you guys be like, oh, I want to be here with this certain group because I like sitting next to them and they're my friends, like, sorry, can't accommodate. And it's also just like, we talk about like the cohesiveness of USAC entities being together as one, especially for new students coming to UCLA that don't even know what USAC is. And if everyone is in the same area, it's very clear, okay, these are all the USAC entities and bodies. And then even if you guys do have your branch organizations, like, feel free to like head over to that where they're tabling, but like,
Did facilities management reach out to us whether they're gonna start construction on the fountain before the activities fair?
I haven't heard anything.
Oh my gosh, okay, I'll check with them and see, because it would be really awkward to have like.
I feel like we just said something, right?
Yeah.
That's also, would the construction be like all around the whole thing? I think it would just be a fountain.
Well, it would be like in
Kinda
that
awkward.
area, yeah, and I know some of the tables are really close.
Yeah, everything's like filled.
Do they have tents? Do they have tents on there?
No.
So what do we
For
get?
some of them do.
Table.
Yeah.
I know the check-in will have like there'll be a tent, but like for most organizations, it won't.
Yeah, I think last year we did a few,
Yeah.
but you can't accommodate tents for every single organization that wants to come, because everyone wants to come.
Someone's office swag should be like mini fans. Oh no.
Question, so has USAC just not been grouped together in the
always-
past years? Or
Yeah,
no?
so there's no change.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We
Okay,
have
'cause
just
I was like,
gotten-
that's kind of crazy to just like put them there.
Cause no, there were questions about
Yeah.
moving
Oh,
USAC
okay.
offices, and so like
Yeah.
we consulted and thought that we should just keep it the same.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, like the request of like, oh, like if I have a sister organization or like this is under my commission or whatever, like it makes sense that you'd want to be like next to them so that you guys can see appear as one entity, but like can't really accommodate that.
And they thought that would be a good idea to keep it that way, so that in case like you did have employers, you could really just point people in that direction.
Right.
So advertise it.
Like just one suggestion, can we like give them something, like ask them to like our page, or they're just like what I'm thinking right now. If they like our Facebook page, then they will know like what USAC does.
I was thinking it'd be nice to have like, so all of us have our separate like tablecloths and stuff like that, but also maybe it'd be nice to have like a board where it's like USAC, like, describing what USAC is in general, because people don't understand, like there's a disconnect between USAC and then us individually.
I will give like the brochures I made, I will just like give to all of you guys, but beyond that, like what else can we do? Yeah, like.
Like a little board, what's it called? Like an imagine board?
Yeah, like we can make that
Yeah,
on
cut out
like
my scene.
retreat, yeah.
And going back to Ruby's point too, like I think it'd be cute if we all, if it's a name tag or a hat or a bandana or something, like, hey, my name is, ask me about USAC, so there's like some sense of cohesion amongst us. Maybe we can talk about that at the retreat also. And another announcement / question I have, for the offices that are doing internships, fellowships, apprenticeships in the fall, are we interested in doing like a Facebook event together? We can promote all of them as one, and that way students have access to all of them in the same place.
Yeah.
Great, so let's follow up about that. We'll send an email or something. Any other announcements? Yeah, so
Not that relevant, okay, but we're gonna have a new committee in the fall, which we'll be recruiting for, and we finally got a name for it, it'll be called Bruin Necessities, but it's just one word at the end.
I like it, I like it. That's a good,
Is it focused on like?
It's like from Jungle Book.
Yeah, that's our
Yeah.
business.
but it's very necessity.
Yeah.
I think we're like, we're cold and like young people like what? That's cute. But
What?
what? Like,
Wait, what
do you
you?
think freshmen know about Jungle Book?
Yes, that's classic.
Oh, like the bare necessities.
Did you not? Did you not?
I didn't catch that.
So
I
one last quick announcement too, I posted about this in the group name, but just one quick reminder, on September 5th, which is next Tuesday, we don't actually have a USAC meeting. AJC organized a panel with Mayor Eric Garcetti called Keep Your Neighborhood Community Safe. If anyone's interested in going, let me know by the end of this meeting so we can help RSVP and coordinate rides and such. Any other announcements? Great, we're gonna move on to the local roll call of attendance. Again, just say here, present. President, IVP, EVP, Gen Rep 1, here, Gen Rep 2, Gen Rep 3,
Present.
AAC,
Here.
CEC, here, CSC, CAC, Facilities, FSC, SWC, TSR. Thank you. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to join the meeting at 9:08.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. I'm gonna do one last vocal roll call for tonight. IVP.
Here.
Gen Rep 1. Here. Gen Rep 3.
Present.
AAC. CEC. CAC.
Here.
Facilities.
Still here.
FSC. SWC. Yeah. Seeing as all voting members have voted affirmatively, this motion passes. We can officially adjourn.
Was that a vote?
Yeah.